us on this important topic. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Matt to get us going.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate the introduction there. Again, my name is Matt Murray, and I'm joined today by Erica Danford. Erica, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Yes, thank you for taking some time out of your day to join the session. We're going to talk about reviews and reputation management here for about the next 30 minutes. And really, hopefully reframe the discussion from what reputation management has been historically to really what it is today in a modern marketing mix. And we're just going to start by taking a look at the growing complexity of reputation management. So I think every marketer would agree that the last 20 years has seen extraordinary complexity across all strategies, reputation management clearly being no different. Those of you who've been in the business for some time remember Google Reviews coming on the scene in about 2002 after actually acquiring Deja there. And then Google Responses really came around in 2009. And you know what I think a lot of people don't remember is that Facebook actually became the largest review site shortly after 2012. And you see mention of local ranking up here on the slide. We're going to talk about that quite a bit during this session. Along the way here, what's not necessarily mentioned was the introduction of Web 2.0, which meant a lot technically, but what it really meant fundamentally for internet users is that everybody became a publisher. And that central idea is going to play into our presentation quite a bit here as we move through. So we thought this would be fun. Erica found this. This is from 2012. We actually did a loyalty report when I was part of Dealer.com, taking a look at the impact of social media, two-way marketing, you see mentioned on the slide, and really reputation management. And what caught my eye here is, again, 2012, and we were saying consumers are going to need the input of sort of aggregate anonymous peers to make everyday decisions, everything from where I'm going to eat or what car I should buy. Erica, you pointed out to me here that this was 2012 again, 800 million people were using Facebook.
And now, what's just so funny, they thought that was so many people. Now Facebook has 2.32 billion users. So just in 8 years, look at the difference in that growth. It's incredible.
It is. It's really amazing. So as part of our discussion here, we're going to start with some research, and we're going to use third-party research just to make some of our points and frankly, to share some of what motivates us to build reputation management technology and services. So I'm actually going to take us out here to my browser and just quickly talk through a few studies. We're going to start at Harvard Business Review, and specific to reputation management, they set out to really quantify the impact of review response on customers. Okay, so not necessarily digital marketing focus, just how do we measure the impact? And what they did was separated two groups of businesses. One responded to all reviews, one did not. And the differences were measurable. Number one, those businesses that responded got 12% more reviews. So if I know my voice is going to be heard, I'm more likely to lend it to the discussion. Those reviews were of a higher rating. So star rating went up for businesses who responded to reviews. And finally, those businesses who were responding saw less unsubstantiated negative reviews. And if you really, you kind of hone in on that one, the analogy I like to use, none of us, swore in front of our parents and our teens. And even now, you're very unlikely to use that type of language in front of folks that you respect. Same thing online. When somebody sees that the business is really listening and involved, they're just much better behaved. So threefold impact just from getting involved and showing that you care about the customer experience online. Let's move into digital marketing a little bit here. This is Search Engine Journal. This article was released in 2017, as you can see, and we're going to kind of walk from here to 2020. This was the first time we really saw direct correlation between reviews and search ranking. If the headline didn't tell you enough there, that's the direction we're going in. If you really dig into this article, you end up at a chart down here toward the bottom, which was actually supplied by Local SEO Guide. And what they did was broke apart the different facets of reviews and then measured their impact on local search ranking. So you can see in the left-hand column there, keyword, city, which is just another form of keyword, Google reviews and the importance of getting reviews as you move down. How many reviews are you responding to? For us, this was really pointing to this intersection really of search and reputation management. And how does that play out in services? We'll talk about that a bit later, but responding to reviews today is more than just saying thank you for your business. So I like to use Heritage Ford. It's a local dealership here in Vermont. And, let's say someone goes down to Heritage Ford and buys an F-150. They go to Google and they leave a review that says, I just bought my new F-150. I couldn't be happier. What a fantastic experience, 5 stars. Historically, if there was a response to that review, mind you, less than 50 reviews are responded to, or 50% of reviews are responded to. If there was a response, it would be something like, Mike, thank you for your business. Can't wait to see you next time. And certainly there's some value there. In fact, Google's really open about the fact that engagement is a large part of how they measure if a business cares about customer experience. But seeing research like this, we know that we can do better. So the example that we would use here is, response should use those branded keywords and services in response to the customer. So you might say, Mike, thank you so much for purchasing your new Ford F-150 from Heritage Ford. We can't wait to see you back for your first oil change. And this way, we're not only reinforcing the brand terms, we're giving Google back some information about the business. And for the next reader, which is really, when we talk about reviews, we're talking about your prospects primarily. They're getting that great reinforcement as well. Okay, so moving into 2018, this is a Moz study. We're going to use Moz twice. They do a fantastic job every year in the release of their local SEO industry study. And in 2018, they released a study, this study here, that showed a 43% increase in review signals as part of local search. Okay, so 2017, we saw a really great mention of reviews as part of search. 2018, we're getting this great reinforcement. For anybody who's interested, you kind of visualize this as a pie graph. That 43% came at the expense primarily of citation signals. So the days maybe of making sure that 80 websites have the right name, address, phone number, hours, and other location data. Not that it's not important, we'll be clear, but it doesn't give you some type of lead over the competition. It kind of has become table stakes. In fact, most people would say taking care of the top 15 listings, and it puts you in a really good position. And frankly, Google's smart enough to figure out that site 47 is still your business, even if perhaps the address is off by a digit. Let's move to today. So this is my current favorite. This research was released on June 19th of this year. Again, this is a Moz study, the State of Local SEO Industry Report from this year. And for the first time in history, I'll call your attention here to Google reviews. For the first time in history, Google reviews are more important in local search than the location of the searcher. So what does that mean in real life? Let's say Erica and I are at a conference in New York City, and we head out to grab lunch, and we ask Google for a deli. Of course, you got to hit a deli in New York. Google's less likely to give you the closest deli at this point. They're more likely to say, hey, there's one that's 2 blocks further that's going to provide a better customer experience. So who's that good for? It's good for the searcher, clearly. It's good for you as the traveler in this instance. But if you really think about it, it's great for Google. So if Erica and I had Googled deli and gone to the very first deli and had a horrible experience, some of that negativity reflects on Google. And this way, Google, of course, is helping protect its market share and provide a great customer experience.
Matt, I think sometimes in automotive, we think of ourselves as a pretty separate industry and not all the same rules apply. But when it comes to something like reviews and reputation, when you think about your shoppers in your dealership, think about all the other things that they are shopping for online. And there is a really strong parallel. So given that the importance of the purchase that they're going to make is probably the second largest purchase they're going to make in their history other than a house, the reputation of your dealership is extremely important because they are looking at reviews on every single thing that they're buying right now. Even when you're buying whatever, a $15 desk lamp, you will be looking to see what the reviews are. So think about those same people as they're looking for which dealership to spend their money on and where they're going to be shopping. They're so used to doing this and looking at reviews. It absolutely is applicable to automotive as well.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, in a few slides here, we have some good reputation data to share about the percentage of folks who read reviews. So thanks for that, Erica. I think last stop here. Let's hear from Google. So this is the Google My Business Help Center, and this is the page on improving your local ranking. And you can see as you scroll down a little bit, managing and responding to reviews is a large part of what Google says will help improve your local visibility. And think about it this way: the internet is really no different in a lot of ways than a popularity contest amongst competitors. Which business is preferred? And the best way to show that you are preferred is to have a great volume and frequency of reviews, and for your prospective customers in Google to see you interacting with those reviews is a signal that you really care about the experience. So that was some quick research. We're going to hop right into a presentation here and get closer to some best practices. Last slide here, I just pulled this quote from Moz. I'm not going to read it, word for word, but when we reframe the discussion around reputation management, what I'm hoping today is that we move away from, hey, my star rating's got to be better than the dealership down the street, to reviews are going to drive my local search visibility. The more people we get to your Google My Business page, the better the results are in conversion. So for instance, referral traffic from GMBs to dealer websites is around 25 to 30%, 25 to 30% of visitors turning into leads. And there really is no other source that performs better. And lastly, great quote from Rachel Botsman there at the bottom. Trust has really shifted from institutions to aggregate, anonymous, peer-to-peer type feedback. And trust, to control your brand, to increase brand equity, to attract the type of shopper that you want to see at your store, you've got to build that trust in the local community. So here's some of that data that I just referred to. A couple bullet points I would draw your eye toward is the searches for best. And this is really about, first about users understanding that Google is a great resource for just about everything, including qualifiers. So if I know that I want the best dentist, I know that I can ask Google that today, and it's going to try to make that determination for me. And we referred to this just a minute ago, but here, 92% of consumers read online reviews. So if you don't have a strategy today, or if it's kind of a secondary strategy and you think I've got it covered, take a minute to really see how you drive reviews and whether or not you're interacting with them to make sure you're set up for success here, given changes in the industry.
So when you think about what really matters, this is not rocket science here. These are the 4 really critical things that matter when it comes to being best in class in reputation management. So the first is about volume. You need to have a lot of reviews out there, which means that you need to have review generation or review solicitation. We at Cox Automotive have partnered exclusively actually with Matt's company. He's the founder of Wide Whale, and they've developed some incredible technology that we're really excited about leveraging in order to generate more volume. You also want to have frequency reviews. So you want to make sure that you are constantly getting updated. You do not want to have a negative review at the top of your list when somebody's looking through. So the frequency allows the more positive reviews, which frankly are the ones that tend to come in, to really rise to the top. Quality of the reviews is very important, and then how you respond is also the 4th pillar in really the best practices when it comes to reputation management. So Matt had mentioned that we were going to hit on the Moz report a couple times. This is the most recent study that just came out in June. Take a look at this. So this is the architecture for feeding Google in 2020. And they have 3 different components here. So the GMB, where review response is called out. Your website, of course, where you would want to show reviews and testimonials from your customers. And then the third party social. So platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. So those are all places where you can really leverage reputation management in your review response. So this is one of the things we're really excited about here. We got to make it easy for our customers, right? We want them to leave us reviews, but we need to do it in a way that it's not difficult for them and just ease of use. So we know that people prefer text over anything. There's a 98% of open rate with text. So in this new technology that I was just referencing, we have something that's really unique in terms of review generation, which is that we're customizing our ability to talk to our various customers. So imagine somebody just came into your store, they made a purchase, and you want to get a review from them. You know that they were really happy. We have the ability through our technology to personalize the name of the customer and then also state our name at the end of it. So thank you very much, Sam, for coming in. I hope you really had a good experience with us. Would love your review from you, Erica. And when somebody clicks through to that, we then make it even easier for them to actually place a review on various sites. So we have the ability to prioritize which sites you would like to have the review posted on. Google is the primary place, so we tend to default to that, but certainly there's ways to move things around. You could have it go to cars.com, DealerRater, or some of the other review sites. And then ultimately, you want to be able to make sure that the review is going to the correct GMB from your business. So many of you now have a GMB for sales and a GMB for service. And our technology is the only one that enables you to actually easily just select and make sure that that review, if they just came in for service, is going to the service site. Very critical given the importance of the GMB, as Matt mentioned, and the ability of segmenting your business in that way.
Just one comment here from me, Erica. The importance of this being easy for your customer can't be overstated. The reality here is if you first of all, if you don't solicit for reviews, your score is going to be depressed because folks who have negative experiences tend to be the ones who leave the reviews. So the first step is, yes, I solicit. And then you want to get a higher response rate. So anybody who works in a survey field, whether it's, could be CSI or NPS or public review generation, knows that a higher response rate equals a higher score because we activate the voice of that happy customer on our review sites. So doing it via SMS, of course, gets better visibility. Personalizing the text or the message to the customer itself is going to improve conversion rates as well. Those two things have to be foundational in the strategy here. And then we'll get back to the GMBs momentarily, but multiple GMBs can be part of your strategy. Optimizing them is extraordinarily important. So we'll come back to that, like I said, in just a moment.
So a next easy, important, critical step is to respond to every customer every time, whether it is a positive review or a negative review. So positive reviews can increase your traffic by 10%. I think it's easy for us to think, oh, that's great. Somebody left a positive review. Thank you very much. But as we will talk about in a minute, and Matt alluded to, there is a very strategic way to respond to those kinds of reviews. Obviously, with negative reviews, you want to escalate that. That's the first thing that you need to take care of. As soon as you see one come in, that needs to be responded to immediately. And it's really important that you're engaging with your customers. They want to know that you care about them. And when you respond to reviews, that's indicating that they are a priority to you and that you really do, it does make a difference what they have to say. And we know other people care how you respond as well. Because I can tell you for myself, when I'm looking at a review, I don't just look at what the customer said. I do take the time to look to see what the business responded and how they really listened to what that customer was saying. So it's an opportunity to increase your engagement with your customers, but also really to demonstrate that you care about them.
I think this is a good spot to just address review gating for a moment, or incubating. So review gating is the process whereby you ask the customer via text or email, did you have a good experience? And there's a simple yes or no. And the customer says no, and they get sent to an internal feedback form versus being given the opportunity to leave a Google review or Facebook, et cetera. If a vendor comes to you and says, hey, look, we can get you more positive reviews because we're going to suppress the negative reviews, you should just turn from that vendor, right? Run away. Yeah. So the reason, though, it's if you read Google's policies on text reviews, they actually say in there that any attempt to try to influence or stop negative reviews from going to Google is actually a violation of their policies. And there was a provider, and I believe this now is a couple of years ago, who was caught doing that and ended up losing thousands of reviews on their customer GMBs. Google's not alone in this. Every review site is doing the best it can to prevent fraud and present a really authentic view of the business. And review gating today really has no place in that. Now, that said, getting more feedback from your positive customers is 100% dependent on how easy it is for them to leave a review. I did want to show everybody here an example, and I want to be clear, this is not to take a shot at Garber Buick, but I use them as an example of a couple things. Number one, they've done a beautiful job setting up their departments on their GMB. Okay, and many of you have probably heard of this strategy. The idea is pretty simple. It's about presenting a great experience by department for that customer. So a service customer who interacts with the service page and calls the service number and lands on the service section in your website, that's a better experience. We learned that first from digital advertising, right? Your keywords get higher quality scores if they point customers to relevant pages on a website. This is the exact same strategy. So your opportunity is to expand maybe your organic reach by having department-specific GMBs. So this looks great to me. Their score looks great to me. Their volume is also fantastic. Now, I can tell you that in practice for this presentation, they have increased their volume steadily, which means they're getting a good frequency of reviews as well. Here's the challenge. This is their primary GMB. Your goal is to get service customers, let's say, to visit the service center GMB. So if I just go over there and check that one out, they've got a great score, but almost no reviews. Okay. This is a real challenge today. If you try to optimize two different GMBs, the initial setup is fairly simple. You add some photos, your business description, address, all these different pieces of data that you see here. They've got some good messaging here on the site already. However, how do you get additional reviews? When somebody leaves the store and they're going to leave you a review, generally they're going to go right to the main GMB. Even with existing providers in the space, they have a hard time optimizing your secondary GMBs, and in many cases will actually upcharge you because of the added complexity. It shouldn't be that way. Your DMS knows which profit center your customer came from. Your reputation management provider should route that customer to the correct GMB, so we get a steady volume, frequency, and quality of reviews on every one of your departmental GMBs.
We talked a little bit about the best way to respond to reviews, and this is a really good example to show how you can highlight and really thank somebody in a way that actually will gain you added local SEO value. So, thank you for coming. Here's your great review, and they put in the business name. So in this case, Frank Moore Toyota. Thank you so much for having a good experience with Paul. So we've got the person's name, and then what the vehicle was. You can have the location, products, and services. It's a way to really be authentic and human, but also boost your local SEO, which we all want to be doing. So again, this is not something that's automated. It's done by people who are taking a look at what the review was and responding appropriately based on what was said to them about the business, who they interacted with, the vehicle they purchased, and the kind of service that was provided. And when you add that all in, it makes for a better response when you're reading through it, but it also has the value of really helping to boost your organic local SEO, which is amazing, killing multiple birds with one stone.
And we also just it's worth saying, we want to avoid automated solutions. We want to avoid bots. We want to avoid templates. There may be a day far from now where that service could be used here, but if you just go read some review responses, you can pick up in the first 10 whether or not they're authentic, whether or not real people are authoring them. And that's important, right? All the data says your customer is going to read your last 10 reviews. So let's make sure that if we're out there engaging with our customer, we're putting our best foot forward.
And then, of course, we want to make sure that your reviews are appearing not just on your website, but obviously on your mobile devices, right? So now when we work with Dealer.com with reputation management, we are now syndicating the reviews onto the websites. And whatever format they're needed. And you can actually refine which reviews you want to show. So obviously you wouldn't want to show something that was a low star rating, but we have parameters that get put in place, and then they're frequently updated. So the most recent review can be showing on the site, and you can pick different places. So it isn't just on the home page, it can be on inventory pages, it can be in your service center. So that gives readers who are coming to your site and looking at where they've navigated, they get to see this third party authentication, and basically, as we said before, they're trusting the strangers, but the strangers are giving them information based on their experiences. So the idea of syndicating onto the website is really a fantastic thing to do, particularly given that you can identify where you want the reviews to be pulled from and the parameters that you put in place around them.
This is really about bringing forward e-commerce best practices as well, and all of us will recognize, if you're at Amazon doing your Christmas shopping and you're thinking about purchasing a specific product, Amazon puts that feedback right there in front of you because they know through testing that reviews that are there in conjunction with the shopping process and near the conversion point will actually increase conversion over 100%. So let's take advantage of that. If our customer needs that little extra feel good before they pull the trigger, why wouldn't we bring that to our dealer website?
And lastly, you want to have reporting. So we know that in most cases, the service department tends to have a slightly lower review rating than the sales department. Think about it. Somebody's coming out of your showroom. They just bought this great car. They're very excited, as opposed to coming in and having to have something fixed. But through the aggregated reporting, you can actually get an overall sense of what's doing well based on reviews in your operations. And if you start to see places where things are negative, so in this example on Yelp, you can dive in and really understand what's happening and make some necessary adjustments in your operations based on what your customers are saying about you. So having this kind of reporting that allows you to be separated through profit center, ratings by site, and then focused on negative reviews gets you a very good sense of how your business is operating in the eyes of your customer. So you definitely want to have this reporting to be able to review at least on a monthly basis, but because ratings come in on a regular basis, it's probably something you want to be checking in on once a week.
We could probably do a whole session on Yelp, Erica. That's a tough one for everybody. I would, for our attendees, I would say if you could just get, if you're over a 3-star on Yelp, you're doing a fantastic job. And the question is always why. And just to be clear, Yelp doesn't allow anyone to solicit reviews to Yelp. In fact, Yelp itself is a 2-star company on Yelp. So
that's an amazing statistic right there.
Yeah, their philosophy is a little bit different. So please don't pull your hair out. If you can get over that 3-star range, you're doing great on Yelp. In summary, we hope that everybody thinks about reputation management today as part of local SEO. It's our job to tell Google that we're great businesses and support our local communities and really care about every individual customer's experience. I think that just about wraps it up. Chris, if you've got questions for us, we're ready.
All right, thank you, Erica and Matt. What a great presentation. We've got some good questions already teed up, so I'm going to dive right into those. First question for you is, how do we input the customer's data into the review software to send them SMS requests?
That's a great question, Chris. So there's a few different answers. The automated version of this technology integrates with either your CRM or your DMS to get that transaction record. You also have the option, of course, of sending manual invites. You can arm your team with the ability to fill out a quick form, fire that SMS, or alternatively, you can do a periodic upload. Think of a CSV of just past transactions with customer info to trigger that series of invites.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Another question for you is there a split in SEO effectiveness by splitting GMBs? Or is there a stronger presence with just a single SMB?
Probably one of the most common questions that we're hearing in the market today, especially related to the GMB. A lot of this is personal opinion at this point. We need more time to collect the data, but common sense tells us that if you can optimize for a specific experience, you're going to perform better. Example, a service GMB can be better merchandised with products and services from the service department, where you might have limited space on your primary GMB. That said, again, optimizing the secondary GMV is extraordinarily important, even to get the initial eyeballs on it. So you've got kind of some investment, some time in making sure that that strategy works for you if you do choose to split your GMVs.
Okay. This next one is a question I know we get a lot. How important is responding to all reviews as opposed to, just responding to the negative ones?
Yeah.
So,
So,
want me to take that, Matt?
yeah, you want to go for it?
Sure. Yeah, I think we hit on that during the presentation, but it is really important to respond to all reviews for a number of reasons. One, it can improve your local SEO value. So the way you respond and the words that you put into that response helps generate additional authority through Google, but also it just shows that you care about your customers. So you don't just care about people who are saying negative things about you, you also care about the people who are saying positive. So I think just overall recognizing the importance of your community and that you are responsive to anything somebody is saying to you or reaching out is an important component to just showing the value that you have and how much you care about the people that are taking the time to write to you.
All right. Another question for you. What would you say to a dealer who wants to stop asking for reviews because they've already got a 4.7 star rating and 1,000 reviews on their GMV?
Chris, 6 or 8 years ago, I might have said, great, take a break, take a quarter off or something, or try a new strategy. However, today, look, we've been through a ton of research on this in this session already, but volume, frequency, quality, and response are keys in reputation management today. Okay, and most customers are looking for 10 reviews over, say, the last 2 weeks, and anything older than that, there's a little bit of distrust in that volume of reviews. I would also say that the internet is as much a popularity contest today as it ever was, and sending those signals that say, hey, we're open, we're busy, and people love to be here, fantastic in the eyes of Google.
For sure. I mean, I think about it when I look at reviews for things, and even though if it's glowing, if it's from 2 years ago, I'm wondering why hasn't anybody actually commented on this product or service since that time? So you want to keep things current no matter what.
That makes a lot of sense. And real quick, I just want to encourage folks to go ahead and submit questions if you have. We've got a couple more kind of in the box here, but go into your chat